As they say, cheap. What are you? Where are you? Oh, you're using the first department of defense. I know exactly. So where's the web operation? But really, the main thing is you got that infrastructure.
There's one next to the. There's one here.
The famous MySQL Online Backup. Notorious, nefarious, dreadful MySQL Online Backup. The thing that everybody is afraid of. So what do you want to know about MySQL Online Backup? Who has used MySQL Online Backup in this room? Bravo. What do you use it for?
There could be like 20 minutes.
Testing. So, what is it and why we are talking about MySQL Online Backup? What is it is simple. It's
actually part of the sponsor.
Online way of doing backups. You don't need any additional tools. You can do it directly with the server. You can do that from your programming language. You don't need to invent anything. It's already there, ready to be used. And it's fast, efficient. So why are we talking about that? We are talking about MySQL Online Backup because there have been some debate, some rumors. It was rumored that MySQL was closing source the online backup, and then something terrible happened. Some Slashdot debate that lasted for a couple of weeks, and everybody was telling that MySQL was dead, Sun was dead, everybody was dead, and they were accusing each other and their cousins. So it was some sort of wartime. So let's clear the air about that. MySQL Online Backup is open source. You can use it, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So what is it? Basically, it's two commands. Instead of having an external tool, you can do just a backup schema and restore from. In the meantime, you can do whatever you want, including drop schema. And when you do restore from, you'll get your data back intact, without problems. Why is this useful? Because before online backup, if you want to do a backup, you need an external tool. So you need to buy something or to use an external open source tool to do your backup. With online backup, you don't need that.
But I'm sure we have a lot there.
Let me show you in practice. So first of all, I'm going to show you one MySQL dump, a classical one. MySQL dump is quite fast, but you need an external tool to do it. It will make a 161 megabyte of dump for 160 megabyte of data that you have on disk. So this is fast, it's something like 8 seconds. However, if you want to restore it, it's not fast at all. The problem is when you do the restore, it takes 1 minute, meaning that it takes something like 8 times the time that you used for backing up. This way is quite inconvenient. You can stay quite a long time without data if you have several gigabytes of data. So what did I do? I tested the online backup with 160 megabyte of data using two versions of MySQL 6.0. One is the simple online backup, and one has a dedicated driver for MyISAM. So before doing the online backup, I did this test of data integrity. It's a simple test that is included in a test database that I have, and at the end it tells me that everything was fine. So all the records are there and all the CRC match. If I do this test, I know for sure that the data is clean. So if I do the restore, I can do the test again and see that the data is there. So let's do that for both versions, and then we do a backup without the dedicated driver. Oh, by the way, for this demonstration, I'm using one thing that is called MySQL Sandbox, which is a tool to create side installations of MySQL. You can find it in Launchpad, MySQL Sandbox. And using this tool, you don't disturb the existing instances of MySQL. So you can create side installations in a couple of seconds. So using the first sandbox, we do the simple command, backup schema employees to a name that we choose, imp.backup. How long does it take? 24 seconds. It's not optimal, but it's embedded. So this is done without the dedicated driver. This is the default online backup. Let's see some information. We have one dedicated table for online backup that gives me the information of what happens for all the online backup commands that I issue. In this case, I did a backup schema employees to bkp, and the engines is the default. So there is no dedicated driver. Any questions so far? Using the dedicated MyISAM driver, the command is the same. It takes 10 seconds instead of 24. So this is faster, much faster. And when I ask for the metadata, it tells me that it's not default, but it's a MyISAM driver. So this is using something different. What I see in the output looks exactly the same. The only difference is that it's faster. Not only that, there is a big difference in the size of files. Let me show you.
Why would you ever not use this?
Excuse me?
Why would you ever not use this? Why would you do it the other way?
Because there are engines without the driver. So if you have an engine that you developed, either you write a driver as well, or you have to use the default driver that is low. So this is to show you the difference between an engine that is not using a dedicated driver and an engine that has a dedicated driver. So what is the difference here? When I use a default engine, the backup file is smaller. The dedicated engine makes a bigger file. Now, you may see this as a disadvantage, but it's a trade-off. If I have a bigger file, it is because the restore is going to be much faster, and I'm going to show you in practice. Now, we started the restore without the dedicated driver, so using this small one. It takes 1 minute and 16 seconds. And if we look at the metadata, again, it tells me that it's using the default. Now I do the same for the other sandbox, which has the dedicated driver. Remember, the size was almost double, but the restore is 12 seconds. This is the real advantage. I mean, for this, it's worth using the online backup. Remember, if you use the MySQL dump or external tool, you can backup very fast, but the restore takes you 1 minute, so 8 times more than this. The real advantage of this online backup is that you have the online restore. So in 12 seconds you have your data back and you are back in business. You don't have to wait 1 minute. And if you multiply this for a database of, let's say, 10 gigabytes, then we are talking about 10 minutes or 1 hour to restore everything. Again, the metadata here says that it's using the dedicated driver. One thing that you should do when you test backup and restore, after you do the restore, you should test the data. So if you know how to check that your data is clean, you should run a test like this that at the end compares the CRC of all tables and gives you an OK match. So if you have a result like this, you know that your data not only was restored quickly, but it was restored safely. Hello, Monty.
Can you back up the whole database at once, or do you have to do each table individually?
Can you say again, please?
Can you back up the whole database at once, or do you have to do each table individually?
At the moment, we can only backup the whole database. Actually, we can backup multiple databases, but not single tables. The current implementation is like this.
But you know, you're talking about the new MySQL backup. No, by MySQL dump, you can back up anything.
With MySQL dump, you can be very granular. You can backup the single tables. But with online backup, you can backup only full databases.
Oh, okay. I just thought your example was doing employees.
Oh, okay, this is just the CRC test that checks all the tables if they are okay. It's not part of the backup implementation. This is a test that I wrote to check that the data was clean. So summing up, the online backup is something that is useful because it's included in the server. It has a simple syntax. You don't need any external tools, and you can start the backup from any client. So you can start the backup from application in Perl, in PHP, in Java, whatever. and you can do that remotely. You don't need to be at the server and do that with an external tool. You just need the proper privileges for that. And if you are using
Security locking or security locking or what?
the locking, the problem is this: if you have a native driver, it doesn't lock, so you can continue using it, and it will back up in the background. If you are not using a native driver, I mean, if you are using an engine without a native driver, then the default implementation of the backup will lock everything the same way as MySQL dump does. So if you use MySQL dump, it will lock all tables. If you use online backup for MyISAM, then it will not lock all tables. You can continue using it. And do we have implementations for InnoDB, Monty?
Yeah.
Yes. So also for InnoDB there is a native driver that doesn't lock the tables. If you use any other engine, at the moment they don't have a driver for the online backup. So those ones will be locked.
We're actually using the versioning in the DB for that. So we do. It's a simple native driver, not.
Yes.
It's still online.
So this is the reason why online backup is important, and this is why you should use it. Questions?
So how about the native driver for Maria? When will you do that?
One moment. Let me give this to you.
We will have one.
I bet.